Hi, Heidi ho, Heidi ho. So, 14th day of Nissan, first month of the year, the whole year. Um, it's a Pesach Eve, so the evening of Pesach, Passover, the first day of Passover, um, which goes until the 21st day of Nissan. So, from the 14th evening, which would be the 15th on through the 21st. Anyway, um, we're moving leven from our homes, from our house, which also includes these bodies, our haughtiness. So when it talks about, and I've said before, the 5 different types of the mixed multitude, the Erev Rav, that come along with Israel, all of us have the potential spiritually to be Yisrael. So the sparks of Yisrael are mixed among the nations, even amongst families that may not see themselves as Yisrael. Anyway, it's removing our haughtiness. We're told that the sins of the father will be visited upon the children up to the 3rd and 4th generation. So when we're in Mitzrayim, we may gather some of those character traits of the Erev Rav. So everything has to do with our spiritual convictions. So we can be beguiled or swayed by the people that we break bread with. So when we're in Mitzrayim, which is the land of restriction, other people that act in a wicked way, we can be beguiled. So when we leave Mitzrayim, Egypt, we're bringing some of those character traits along with us. So the men of war will not enter the promised land. Everything is a test of our spiritual beliefs and our spiritual convictions. So all those wars when we left, or when we leave Mitzrayim, the men of war will not enter the promised land. Those wars are a test to test our hearts. Yes, we're supposed to follow the covenant that we have with our Ima Abba, which is not to murder. So those individuals that pick those things out of Torah and Tanakh and say, well, we're supposed to utterly destroy the remembrance of Amalek. Well, yes, we are. It starts with Amalek that's within us, the wickedness that's in us. That can cause us to believe that we can point at somebody and say, that child does not deserve to live because this is their mother or father of the flesh. So, individuals that do wicked things towards children. And we're not even talking about just the Epstein class, because when you break bread with the Epstein class, you'll inherit some of that wickedness. So everything is an exchange of currency, and the currency that we connect to is the currency that absorbs into our bodies. Think about it that way, even a spiritual currency. So we look at the things that are going on around the world, all has to do with capitalizing on currency. Think about it that way. So those who follow Frankist ideology, or Zevitian Zevi's ideology, they believe they're going to bring about HaMashiach by doing wicked things. Well, if you break bread with them and you drink out of their cups, then you're gonna inherit some of that, and you're gonna end up in Gehenom, hell, instead of Gan Eden. So saying I'm Yisrael, or I am a Christian, or I am an American, or I am whatever, that makes you the Giborim, creating a name for yourself. Not for the sake of our Ima Abba, but for the sake of your own ego. So we inherit that. And we have to try to remove that leaven from our heart, that haughtiness. So when we commit crimes against others who can't fend for themselves, especially a child, because a child is the most innocent and the weakest as far as being able to fend for themselves. It's wicked, and it shows the wickedness of our hearts, and it shows that the sins are being visited against us. So again, all those wars that were fought, all those wars that we fight when we're leaving Mitzrayim are a test. They're all a test. Because if you remember, none of that generation entered Israel, none of them entered the promised land because they were bringing the spirit of the year of Ra inside their heart. So anyway, that's the message for today. The other message is about going back to the collecting an interest. So when you hear somebody who's in that mixed multitude say this is in our best interest, they're talking about an exchange of currency. And you look at some of those individuals and you follow the money, the interest. How much are they gaining off the war? So when they turn around and they invest in the war machine, like Lockheed Martin and Boeing and all the weapons manufacturers and the banks, you sold yourself to the creditors. Show me where I sold myself to the creditors. It all goes back to the creditors, who are on both sides of every war. Every war that has ever happened, the creditors are on both sides. They don't care how many men lose their lives, how many children lose their lives, how many women lose their lives. It's all about interest, and it's in their best interest. So they're going to gain profit off of you going to war. We need to remove these individuals, but we need to remove the Yetzirah, the evil inclination, from ourselves, which would be the reptilian mind, and start thinking in a higher consciousness instead of a lower beastly consciousness, which would be the nephesh, the beastly soul, not the neshama, the godly soul, heading towards our ima'ava. So, yeah, it is in their best interest. When they say it's in their best interest, that's exactly what they mean. They're talking about the corporate states that are controlled and owned by the bankers and the banking families and the 1%. And they want the other 99% to die and exchange your sweat equity for their currency because they make a profit off of your labor. So we're all to work the soil, but it also means these bodies we live in. Remove leaven from our hearts. And we don't need flags. We don't need names of the land. Kili Kol Ha'aretz. It's all our Ima'ava's land. So that's a message for today. Remove leaven from your heart. It's the first night of Pesach, Passover. So when the sun goes down tonight, that's when Pesach starts. God bless. Much love.